It certainly feels fucked up when they're doing this to run negatives.
A couple of stories about Tom Steyer in the California Govs race. This one from The Times. Political money is flowing from influencers, but from whom? Highlighting the story of Carlos Eduardo Espina, who is one of the biggest TikTokers in the game, being paid $100,000 to help win the election. And speaking publicly about Steyer, but being given a consulting contract, also focusing on Jessica Reed Krause, a conservative influencer who accidentally tweeted paid partnership, when she was supporting a post by Tim Sheehy, and then deleted the tweet and was like, whoopsie.
Paid partnership is so funny.
But the article goes on to lay out the sort of gray area of, paid influencer work in politics today. There's a lot of sort of questions about where the sort of line actually is, right? So you look at a situation like Carlos Eduardo Espina, who legitimately, I think, is one of the best knowers in the game of what it actually means to speak to the Latino community. I mean, that is his audience. And so that is somebody that you would likely want to get input from, who then might do stuff for you. Right. So like in that context, it's like sort of hard to see how that is different than the fight agency signing on with Tom Steyer, or any of the 19 million consultants signing on with Tom Steyer, or the million consultants who suddenly signed on with Javier Becerra, who are now tweeting about him who weren't before. Like what is the actual line in that way? But then there's this thing of, okay, well, what does disclosure look like, for creators like, for example, Jessica Reed Krause, who's getting paid a certain amount to tweet and support. You have here in a different article in the Sacramento Bee about Tom Steyer's influencer program, Tom Steyer paying someone $10,000 to post on Instagram that he really likes Tom Steyer, and another sort of video program where they're paying people $10 a video with more if they reach a threshold of views, which that kind of performance pay actually pretty common in marketing, clipping, all that kind of stuff. And do think it's worth noting in this story that it has this line, which is that Javier Becerra does seem to be using bots to amplify his social media support as well. And I just think there's this it's like such a gray area, because obviously the laws with the FTC are, if is a paid product, you have to disclose. An idea is trickier. And the creator economy, it's like my general finding, this is not always the case, is, you can't pay a creator to do something they wouldn't already do, because their sort of audience is the trustworthy thing, right? The trust they have with their audience is usually their point of connection. Carlos Eduardo Espina, like his audience trusts him directly, right? And so, it's sort of not in their incentive to do something to get in the way. They wouldn't endorse somebody that they don't actually like. And so it's tricky. And at the same time, people are definitely in some places being paid to do stuff, but if they're being paid to do a thing they already would have done, what are the ethical lines? It's like a complicated space.
Yeah, it really is. It feels fucked up to me. And we've seen this, it certainly feels fucked up when they're doing this to run negatives, And so you saw in that Illinois 9 race where Kat Abu-Ghazala was running this insurgent campaign as a 26-year-old, and down the stretch they found evidence of people being paid effectively to tweet negative things about her with Oppo in them and shit, and that, the dark arts are going to be fucking nasty in 2028 and beyond.
I do think that it'll be interesting in the primary, certainly, because you've seen this, the way that a lot of this will work is, you pay an LLC, the LLC pays the creator's talking about an idea, nobody has to disclose at any point. And so, I think you're going to see tons of that all over the primary. I think you're going to see that kind of everywhere. And it's certainly super present on the right. I mean, we're talking about it in the context of a left-wing primary campaign, but this stuff is everywhere. I mean, there's this website, influenceable.com, where you can go on and you can basically just find Republican staffers who will tweet nice things about, your thing.
Yeah, there's a couple other pieces of this that I think are super interesting. One is, I would say, because I write a newsletter, Nobody's Listening, about the 2028 race and stuff, I would not feel comfortable doing that kind of analysis and also being paid by one of those people. It's totally not out of the question that someone, the staff of one of these candidates would be we'd love to bring you on to advise about strategy and stuff. I don't know whether I would say yes to that, but if I did, I would certainly feel obliged to note it, to disclose that anytime I was doing this. So from the creator perspective, I do think some of the burden is on you, and out of respect to your own audience, if people are coming to me for, unbiased analysis of the 2028 field, then obviously
God help them.
Then they are so fucked.
When you are thinking about creators in your life, just know that you need to support fully independent creators like us. No one is paying us. We are not bought at all. But if you do want to pay us, hit up what's up at nobodyknows.wtf. We'll say whatever, baby.
Nobody knows anything.